tonight?
Great.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I know I have a big enough mouth. I'm a trainer by day. What do I have in my hands?
Rubber bands.
Something simple, right?
Yeah.
So what are some characteristics about these rubber bands?
They stretch.
They stretch. Excellent. And what else?
They're round.
They're round.
They're flexible.
They're flexible. And if you snap them, they snap back, right? So where am I going with this? And Ken will tease me because he always calls me the queen of acronyms, so I would be remiss if I didn't start with an acronym and talk about where stretch came from. And I thought the rubber bands were a good illustrator of stretching. So my acronym for the word stretch: substantial things require effort to become convincing habits. Things that are often meaningful in our lives, more often than not, require us to do what? Stretch, change, be adaptable, be flexible. They require us to do some things that we may not be accustomed to doing in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And what I've learned as I've gotten through these middle stages and ages in my life is that we are always taught that change has to be negative. There's always something negative about a change. But what I want to challenge you and encourage you tonight is to think of change as a stretch. Stretch. Like these rubber bands, and I'm just sharing some things from my personal experiences, and I'm sure you guys can attest and agree. I've had to stretch like these rubber bands in different areas of my life, especially over the past 4 years. And I don't know if I've gotten to talk to each and every one of you, but my youngest daughter, who will be graduating from high school soon, was having some trouble with the traditional high school system, so I ended up pulling her out, that was a stretch for me, because I was the type of parent that if traditional schooling worked for me, I figured it would work for my children. Well, it didn't work out that way. I ended up pulling her out of the public school system, and she has been de-schooled at home for the past 4 years. So that required me to become her learning coach. And that required me to, after working a full-time job and working as my learning enhancement business, to come home, and I also had to devote my time to her. And I had to make sure that her lessons got done, work with her, because she still has her core teachers, even though she's not in a brick and mortar building. She still has a math teacher, science teacher, the same things that you have in traditional school. She's just not bound by that brick and mortar building. So that was quite an undertaking. So I have to mark attendance, I have to make sure her lessons get done, coordinate, make sure that she has everything done on the schedule. So that was really some stretching, So that was one way that I was pulled and stretched. The second thing that I want to talk about with working for an employer, and you guys know this because you all have worked for employers. If you're self-employed now, you probably have at some point in your careers. We have to be able to do this because there's always something changing. There's always something that's being implemented. We may not necessarily agree with it, but if we want to stay on their payroll until we become independently wealthy, we have to do this. Okay. In business, what I do for my learning enhancement company, with the state of Ohio, and anybody who's involved in public education knows that things are constantly, constantly changing. So one of the things that I have to do is I have to stay abreast of what's going on in our education system. A lot of what I do is a lot of remedial work because of what the No Child Left Behind Act has done. They've left a lot of our children behind. They're not devoting as much time as they should be on individual instruction. They're teaching these kids things to pass the test. And guess what? The tests are changing. So 75% of their time is being spent to pass the test, but they're not really learning the foundational stuff that they need to. So guess what? Our kids are getting left behind. So that requires me to stay on top of that. And then guess what? They get tired of this and they decide they want to change and do something else. So here we go. Here's the rubber band. Here's the rubber band. And in the midst of all of that, and Callie, we were talking about this a few minutes ago, and I'm one of those type of people, if you ask me to do something, if it's something I can do, I'm going to do it for you. So I take care of everybody else. And somebody asks me something, I'm going to do it. So in the midst of all of that, my health started declining because I wasn't taking proper care of myself. So once again, I had to rededicate myself. I had to refocus, Irma, on getting myself back together. Again, adapting and changing. So what I'd like to leave you with today is from Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you discern what the will of God is, what is good, acceptable, and perfect. And one thing I wanted to share with everybody that just happened, it must have been a divine intervention of God. Kent prayed for me, and it had to be last year sometime. And he mentioned something to me about education. And another pastor friend, who's also one of my clients, prayed the same prayer, probably was 6 months later.
Wow.
So I know it's prophetic.
Yeah.
And I was running from that, and so when we talk about procrastination and not following through on certain things, I've always run from being the educator that I am. And there was something that I've been wanting to do for the past 3-4 years, but just never had the time to do it. Every time I wanted to do it, the opportunity was never there. But a friend of mine, in my quest for my health and wellness thing, that's been my thing for the past 2 years, asked me to get a book and look at it. In the course of doing that, I found out that for the cost of a library card, we can take online classes free through the Cleveland Public Library System. And on the second page of the handout that I gave you, if you can access the Cleveland Public Library's website, they have 3 classes that you can take that are online. You don't have to step into a classroom. They're not credit-based courses, but if you successfully complete them, you'll get a certificate of completion. And the thing that I was talking about, and the testament that I want to give you guys today, was that I've been wanting to learn how to do grant writing, because one of the things that God has called me to do is to take my business in another direction and start a nonprofit piece. So I know in order to do that, I need to learn how to write grants. So I've successfully taken and passed my first 3 classes. They're 6-week, thank you. They're 6-week classes. You get 2 lessons a week, and then you take a final exam at the end. So I just passed on my finals yesterday. I wanted to share that with everybody. So all the costs is a valid library card. And I encourage you and empower you to go out there. They have anything you can think of, they have out there. They have classes on personal development. If you want to learn how to be a better speaker, they have classes for that. If you want to do a grammar brush up, they have classes for that. Anything in the teaching field, because I actually found something that I'm actually taking out for my tutoring, even though I'm not a certified teacher. I have some coursework I've actually done in that, and it's given me some different strategies to approach when dealing with my students. I'm trying to think of what else. It's just so much stuff out there. I just want to tell you to go out there and check out their website. And you have to go through the library's website, or there is a cost involved for these classes. And I think they're like around $150, $200 a course. So it's something that we're paying for already.
That's awesome.
And I'm a big proponent of, if you don't have to pay for it, and you can get it for free.
Yeah.
So the website is at the top of the second page I gave you in the corner, cpl.org. And just go there, and you'll see the little banner for the Ed to Go to set up an account. You have to get a passcode in order to get the courses for free. But again, with me and with the classes being online, if you don't have the time to go to a class, they're 24 hours. You can access the courses whenever you feel like taking those courses. They're 6 weeks, so they're not long.
Oh, that's great.
And they also have classes in nonprofit management, so that's going to be the next thing that I start on. So I kind of like mapped out where I want to be by the end of the year.
All right.
So you can do it. So you don't have to procrastinate, because that's something I've been struggling with, was getting the grant writing stuff done. So now I think I'm in a better position. I'm actually going to use those skills, set up my nonprofit, and God willing, we'll have it up and running sometime next year.
All right.
Be encouraged and stretch.
Thank you. Give another round of applause. And thank you so much for that, Tia, for sharing that information. And Kim, that's what we were talking about that. So God does work in, let's say, mysterious ways. You came in seeking that, and I had no idea she was going to talk about that. That's for you.
Wow.
You know, we had another distinguished person, a leader in the community come in, Tanya.